I'm that girl who was reminded yesterday in a BQH session that our biggest scars and wounds can actually be the most beautiful, uh, grateful thing that we can have in our lives, to be able to have pushed us into a new direction that can give us something better than we can even than we had. It made me ponder my own experiences, because this was a reference to a physical scar and injury that really changed the course of that lifetime for that person. And so the significance of it for the subconscious was to be able to relate it back to her emotional scars and traumas from this lifetime, to show her the beauty of actually those experiences. And when she looks back with the bigger perspective, it all makes sense how it was all to give her experiences and lessons and opportunities for empowerment of self, to heal self, to forgive others, to forgive self, and all of that fantastic 3D emotional stuff, right? So extremely purposeful. So as I was processing the experience of my own journey, what was the biggest sort of scar or wound for me? It reminded me of when my grandmother passed. And so it was quite a deep wound, and it was really tragic and really heartbreaking for many different personal reasons. And so it really took me on my own personal journey, because that's when I just was really having to face the concept of death, and what does it really mean, and is that final for her, and all that sort of stuff. And so I was sort of put on my big path and quest and journey to keep asking these bigger questions about death and what it really means for the soul, and all that sort of stuff. So even though it's her life contract to die as she did and how she did, everything that happens to sort of us also gives us an opportunity to have allow other people to have experiences for themselves, for their opportunities for growth and lessons and all that sort of stuff. And it reminds me of the flower in the background, how it is all one, and yet when you pluck one off and it becomes completely independent, it still sort of impacts all in some various degrees. Oh, look, there's one there. So, it's just really obvious to me, all of the signs the universe is trying to get me to focus on and pay attention to, and how everything is connected. And while we just feel like we're this one little nail or a toenail or whatever, we are still very much connected to the whole. And so if you want to say the universe is our bodies, then right now we're just aware of this one nail, the full speck of it. We get the sense that it may be attached to something bigger, but we have to wait and see, because we do not have any faith or trust, right? So we have to just feel out that. And then once we sort of explore this, and we're connected to a finger, how extraordinary. And then we just keep on expanding and noticing all our awareness. Oh, soul, family, friends, fantastic. Mr. Subconscious. And we sort of then discover, a whole arm, which could be easily referred to as the higher self. And then, you zoom out the whole bigger picture, and there's a full body just waiting to be noticed by you and us. And, it's all connected, and we're all one, even though we're independently living these little unique little lives where we sort of feel, sometimes really disconnected. And yet we can't be disconnected. I mean, you could rip out a nail totally. It would be freaking hideously painful and so unnecessary. That's not what we've done, is it? I mean, it feels painful being separated, but that's an illusion to being separated. It's all within us. We're all connected in, but we're so focused on just this. And, what if we get a hangnail? And that becomes infected and really pussy. The whole body knows the hangnail is there, and it is very, very, very painful and can affect everything, and including if you get an infection, your whole body feels unwell, right? You start feeling it in your digestion system that you're off balance and everything's turning to custard. And it can be quite a dramatic thing if you sort of leave it festering and pussy. And this is kind of what they were sort of saying about how with the body of Gaia, right? So she, the body is still here, obviously, we're still on this body, and we are noticing, you know, that there is a disconnect between her soul and her body. And there is still a very fine cable cord, a connection, a soul connection, an energetic connection, but the body is no longer making the soul impacted in that density anymore, right? So there's a separation. And so now that she has kind of stepped away from the body, lots of beings on Earth and around Earth have stepped up and are lending their energy and supporting energetically the whole body of this planet as if she was here. But remember, she's a gigantic soul, gigantic, and not just in size, but in frequency and vibrations. And so when she stepped away, there needed to be others to step up and take her place while they're still waiting for all of the opportunities and experiences that humanity needs to have for it to be able to at least experience it, hoping lessons will be explored, but at least get the experiences done. And then that can be explored and unpacked and learned from and grow from, maybe here, hopefully, but maybe not, maybe somewhere else. And so it is purposeful how everything has to unfold and will eventually unfold. Of course, our collectives would love us all to just step up and empower ourselves, empower others, and realize that we are all one and that we are all everything, and to be able to realize that when we misuse this energy and hold on to density, we're part of the problem. And right now they're begging us to be the parts of the solutions to upraise everyone's vibrations and to, you know, really focus on that and not get distracted with propaganda or other things that look really tempting. And so, you know, it's the same conversations that we've had for ages, right? So there's nothing really new in that, but they're just wanting you to remember the significance and why you're needing to focus on things now. And lots of people are feeling this tension inside them to be doing something else. And, you know, that can really make them feel so frustrated because they don't quite know what that something else is. So they're starting to do random spring cleaning. They're starting to do a lot of like reorganizing of stuff. It's almost like the nesting. You know, they're trying to look for new locations to live. They're trying to look for new jobs. They're trying to look for new hobbies. They've got this thirst and drive to do something else, and they just can't quite get there. And so, you know, it's very frustrating. And so potentially, what is it that may have impacted your lives quite severely, either a physical scar or an emotional scar, that now you can look back at it and think, wow, okay, well, that wasn't so fantastic to enjoy that experience, and it was painful in many ways. Was that something like an epiphany or a trigger to really push us into the right direction? And so, you know, we don't often want to think about the hard parts. And it was really interesting. Yes, Grayson? I'm back. Okay, so what they're trying to say is that it takes a lot of extra energy and effort for all of these beings to hold the energy frequency since Gaia has stepped out, right? So this is a very challenging thing for them to do, and it's taking a lot of energy. And if we could just understand that this is sort of taking a toll on them, and this is why they're starting to get really frustrated, because it's like, this, we can't keep up this. You know, Gaia couldn't keep up with this, and this is taking a lot of energy and a lot of it's almost like taking the piss, because, you know, we know the state of where the earth is, and it's very, you know, it's a very important epic time. And so for us to be sort of not focused on what we are supposed to be focusing on and raising the vibrations, then we're really sort of you know, really dismissing all of this, all of these collectives and all these other light workers who are here actually being of service. And, you know, it's a lot to process. It's absolutely a lot to process. And you can tell those people who are really struggling, who are kind of offline or unbalanced, because they're getting the wicked ascension symptoms, right? So they're really struggling with it because they're so out of balance. They've got so much emotional baggage, so much inner work that's just like dense and sitting on them as if they've had like a gigantic meal. And so they feel really uncomfortable in their bodies, and there's a whole lot of other stuff going on. It's not very nice. And, you know, that alone should motivate them to, you know, release what no longer serves them and all this sort of stuff. But often they don't know how to. They don't know what grounding is, or drinking water, the power of drinking water, and then having some salt in our diet. You know, so we're really fortunate to be able to know this information and be able to step up and take responsibility with our choices to what we do for our bodies and our mindsets, as we are just in balance and neutral to whatever has to unfold for humanity, right? We're not really going to go into shock. We don't really want to go into shock. You know, we want to just be accepting everything's purposeful, everything's for a lesson, and, you know, all that fun stuff that we should almost have like tattooed onto our arm now, or just drill it into our heads when something happens and we're noticing that our emotions are starting to feel and play with the dramas of things. Oh, stop, I'm playing with emotions again, and it doesn't really do much for me. We can identify the emotions quickly because we have experienced all the range of emotions now, haven't we? Really, we can identify with so much. Yes. Attempt 327. It's going to be one of those days today, and it is all is well, all is fine. And so much to be said about what I'm being pushed to notice and explore right now. It is truly, truly, truly extraordinary times, and I'm so appreciative of all of the information and the confirmation that I'm getting in my awakening life and in my dream state life and in the sessions and all of that sort of stuff. So, you know, it is a fantastic time to be alive. So I really encourage everyone who still feels like they've got childhood stuff that they haven't been able to really see the lessons and the significances of why you chose those parents, those siblings, all that stuff. They could be your biggest wounds, but they could be also your biggest blessings. And you could be incredibly grateful for them when you see your life in totality from the bigger perspective, which is removing the emotions and being able to objectively look at the lessons and experiences for your soul's growth and journey. So, you know, it's very extraordinary times. I can't keep saying that enough because it frickin' is. And it is truly incredible. And also I wanted to sort of say to you in all very sincere, you know, I really want you guys to get this point, because this is really, really, really significant and important. There are some amazingly incredible, important, I just call them gifts to humanity right here on earth, playing really important parts and really important roles to hold this energy. And so when there is a slow evolution for humanity, as they're still refusing to notice what's going on around them and all of the other agendas, I mean, you can be completely oblivious to everything and still be high vibrational. And that's fantastic. And I love that. But if you're supposed to awaken up to be able to notice what's going on, to then sort of have your own sort of awareness, you can't really vibrate yourself as high as you should be, if you're doing lots of things that are really, really disempowering you. And so, you know, this is kind of the catch-22, right? You know, you want to follow and trust professionals, and yet on the flip side, when you hear from a metaphysical perspective, some of those advices from the professionals aren't empowering you and actually blocking a lot of your connections to, you know, yourself and to source and a whole lot of other higher frequencies. And they do this on purpose. You know, there's sort of whatever you want to call it, whether it's the dark forces or the dark agenda or whomever you want to say is the bad guys for this human earth experience now. You know, they've done a really great job in playing their roles. Right. And so now it's our really great job to awaken to that and notice it and empower ourselves to do something different, which is truly uplift ourselves. And, you know, some people, don't value themselves enough to care about themselves enough to step up and to be able to honor the body, what goes into the body, not just through our mouths and what we stuff our faces with, but also with our mindsets. And so this is what they sort of say is, what are you exposing yourself to? Is it influences of truthers or something that's not really feeding, uplifting you? And so there's sort of like saying, be super fussy and picky with who and what you put in your heads, in your bodies, in your minds, around you and all that sort of stuff. While we're supposed to love everyone unconditionally, that's super easy to do it from a distance. But what are you exposing yourself to? I personally love to share my life and my journey with high vibrational people because it makes me feel like I am able to express myself without having to explain myself and to justify myself. And, I'm allowed to just be. And we love having friends who we can just be ourselves with and around. And it just becomes so natural and it just flows. And there is no other agendas from the friendships. It is pure and lovely. And, everyone deserves to have that. And then you have certain leaders in certain fields. So I know lots of people who are leaders for their whole families, but they don't recognize themselves as leaders. So they really struggle because they're feeling so alone, so alone. I'm not connected to anything. Imagine these little dandelion things saying, I'm so alone. And yet it's like, well, just stop focusing on yourself so much and look around you. When we are so focused on our own inner hurts and our own lack of when we only focus on what we perceive as our limitations and our lack, and we're not the richest person in the world, we're not the most blah 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 person in the world, when we are still thinking we should be the best and the most, and we haven't quite got there, we're not able to just accept who we are. And so part of the maturity of spirituality is just accepting who we are. And right now, we can only just accept who we are in this lifetime because this is the most important one we're supposed to focus on. So, there's so much to be said, and I feel like I've just distracted myself with where I was going with that. Sorry. Just identify what was your biggest scar, whether it's a physical one, because sometimes big accidents are not a coincidence either. We're sort of, fully going off purpose and path, and, people will break a leg to give themselves some time out, to give themselves a break. So everything is super significant, and your body is constantly telling you messages. So what is your body saying to you today? What is your mindset telling you to do today? Because if we honor that and not distract ourselves, and the big message is, instead of listening to, an influencer's videos or a Netflix binge or something like that, make yourself and having time to focus within you, to meditate within you, a priority, the biggest important priority, because that will just give you some time to sort of align yourself and ground yourself enough to be able to just allow the energies to flow through you rather than you just being blocked, because you're not allowing things to just flow through you. So, so many people want me to talk to them about how to uplift themselves and how to raise their vibrations and all this sort of stuff. And, each individual person's unique and significant in their own journey and where they're at and what works for them. But again, if you're wanting me to tell you how to do it, doesn't it kind of defeat your own experiences and lessons to be able to fine tune you? You should be the master of you. You're the biggest influencer, right? That's what they were saying the other day, and they were really serious about it. You're the biggest influencer for you. So do you have an abusive influencer or someone who respects you? And it's kind of like how they say to people, treat yourself as if you are your new best friend. Often we treat our friends so much better than we treat ourselves, right? So, that's another big alarm bell to say you need to sort of honor yourself just as much and equal Why are we treating people differently? We should be treating each other as equals. And yes, we know cactuses, we don't want to treat them as equal because they hurt us because of their big pricks. But they also need to be respected. And if we're judging them still for being those cactuses, they can feel it, and it just makes their cactuses grow thicker and bigger and blah, 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 blah. And so there's that. Okay, and so there was something else that was really significant, and I wanted to say this to you. Extraordinary times. We had lightning here yesterday, randomly, intensively. And so I haven't had lightning like that for probably 4 years. And it's very significant. And I know why it was last time. And it was just after, it was the day after I had interviewed Carrie Fisher and her mother, the two actresses who had departed, and talking to them about what they're doing now. And they are associated with thunder. And it was just extraordinary. And I don't know why. It's yesterday reminded me very much of that. And so I am very much aware that I'm going to get back to what I just distracted myself with, which was big energy workers here, really special, significant beings, very important to many other planets that they are associated with, very important to many other beings and races and all sorts. I don't even know the right names to sort of talk about an entire soul family of a planet. And so we know very many really significant, important people who are either going to take on that role because they are sort of what we would consider sort of royalty in their family. And this is their people that they're going to be training to learn how to grow. And lots of people are here on this earth to learn how to not do planets. And they're going to take the information away with them when they go home to make sure that their own history and their own lessons and information of Earth is used in the way that they direct their planets, because they never want this to occur for them. If you've got your own special family, your own special planet, and you want to make sure it never happens to you, you're going to be sending people here to be able to have the records of everything that's going on here, to make sure that the experiences from Earth are going to be shared to all and learned from for all. And so it's very extraordinary, and it's very interesting. So it's taking a lot of toll on those people who are here now, and they are big influences on their planet, and everyone knows them and loves them, adores them, and loves their frequency. And so for one example, I know someone who is shifting prior to their bigger events because she wants to fast track herself to be able to then greet all her soul family and everyone that is connected to her home planet to be able to greet them, because as soon as they recognize her after they've shifted, they're going to be comforted to know that all is well. And so, there is so much that goes on behind the scenes to evacuate a planet. And we just think, oh, this is just, just sounds like a whole lot of nonsense and blah, 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 blah. But when you actually start doing sessions and actually hear all of the details of every person's individual roles of what they're doing to help with this here now and after they shift themselves, it's a lot. It is a lot. And we are so well looked after because nothing has been forgotten. All of the details have been well prepared for. And it is an extraordinary time when people start dipping into what they do next. And I also know that a lot of people, they haven't really heard very much about New Earth. And so they sort of just feel like, oh God, it's just a copy paste here. Yuck. Hideous. I'm not interested. And that is an interesting perspective. It's a valid one, but it's not true. New Earth is not just a copy and paste of here. New Earth is a fifth dimensional goodbye, low density emotions. Nice to see, forget about you, farewell. You're terrible to play with and we hated you, but we learned so much from it. So it was so purposeful. Yay, jazz hands, right? So New Earth has nothing like that density at all. In fact, it is so uplifting. People want to learn, people want to grow, people want to love, people want to respect. That is so foreign, right? It should be naturally here. It should be everyone having that grace and ease and inner peace and empowerment of self and others here, right? It truly should be here. And it's super easy for people to have chosen this. And this is what is frustrating to the collectives, because it's like, well, it's all choices, and yet they keep choosing that crap. So, there's that. And so when people in sessions experience what they do on the new earth and how wonderful it is, and how everyone is aware that you're all one, that you're all connected in, and there is joy and excitement and true fun, true joy, true love. We can't feel that range of love here. I mean, you can briefly when you have, when you fall into a relationship and, love drunk, and when you meet your baby for the, first few times until you get really sleep deprived. No, but, when you have, when you see your children and all that sort of stuff, and you have that, and your pets after you haven't been home for a few days or something like that, we get these little snippets of this range of love, but it is quite intensive and definitely something beyond what we're normally used to on the new earth. And that's going to be our normal. It's going to be so high frequency, so empowering. And a lot of people who are very exhausted here, very drained here, and very depleted here, that it's like, what else? Oh my God, there's more. I'm done. And they just feel like there's going to be more work, and it's going to be more draining and soul destroying. Oh, Earth, how far you have come to not be how you were designed to be. Anyway, so there's that. So I can understand a lot of people being afraid of what the new earth really is, because lots of people don't believe that there could be a planet that is free of that negative density, that there is just all those beautiful beings that are in balance and harmony, because often it's been so long since the soul has been on their home planets and been in that unity and connection at a consistent time. So, there's so much to be looking forward to. And, it is so rewarding to have sessions, to be able to explore what you do on the new earth, or even if you go home to new planets. It's so helpful to experience that, to have that, because when we can't even imagine it in our, daydream now, what could you imagine it to be? And we would try for a little bit and then get bored and distracted and think, oh, well, what's the point? We're not here yet. And I just don't want to be frustrated. I'm trying to have balance and neutral, all that sort of stuff. When you have a session and it's so profound. So when you hear sessions and you just hear the words, that's cute and all, that's one very small layer of having the experience of the sessions, because when you are there in the energy of the sessions, all you can express is the words, but you can't express the feelings and all of the other things that are going on. You could try to say, I feel in love, I feel in joy, I feel uplifted, but still those words are empty because you can't feel that range of the actual feelings. So they're just describing the stuff and you can't actually get the full energy force of it. So this is why I ask you all to find your practitioners, to be able to, have this unique experience, just to empower yourselves, to get you into focus, to know, if you want that situation to be, your future very soon, best you get there by having these experiences and starting to step up into trust and faith that it actually is a real thing. Because a lot of people still doubt, and that is fine. That's healthy, right? To have doubt, because we're being fooled and tricked and controlled and manipulated by every aspect of our lives virtually. And so why now? Why could you just trust this? And lots of people do trust this, but it's really nice to be able to have a session to just be able to make sure within yourself that it's 100%, because, otherwise it's just, it's no one, so many people have their hopes dashed. And, they don't want that for this, because this feels so good and this feels so right and this feels so intuitively correct, that they don't want it to be, just a it's a joke kind of thing, because it's not funny, you know, like, and I haven't spent all of these years working really hard and diligently to try and get this information out. So when you have your own sessions and you find accidentally these sessions, which matches and mirrors your own sessions, that will give you fidelity of your session was not bullshit. It wasn't some fantasy. It wasn't some sort of, because you've watched a movie about something. It's real. It actually is tangible proof now. If other clients are getting the same sort of information and they haven't heard your session, you know, there is some fidelity, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, lots that I need to express. And again, I'm still finding words are limiting and lacking what I'm wanting to reach out to you to say, but reminding you all that we have to just accept who we are, accept our roles that we have signed up for and why. That's a really good question to ask in sessions. What am I supposed to be doing here now? You know, now that I'm waiting so patiently with my inner peace. You know, find out why you chose certain family members, or why you're in some sort of conflicts, or why there is disbalance and harmony. And I just want to also say, and I don't really like talking about this because I sort of feel it's so dense, but there are energy vampires out there, right? We all have heard that term. And there are lots that are trying to find big light workers now to disempower them. Okay, so not to be afraid, but use your boundaries wisely. And this is why it's really important for them. And they've said this to you many times. Make sure you're not enabling someone, and make sure you're not disabling yourself. And sometimes when we find a spiritual friend who is just wanting to drain our energy and our attention time and not actually empower themselves, if you don't see any growth in your spiritual friends, warning, big warning, okay? Because potentially they could be just draining you and distracting you and taking you offline. So there's that. And so we so love our friends, we so want to be loyal to them, but once you twig on to their actual agenda, and that's not to empower themselves or you, make that boundary, okay? Because there is lots of things that are trying to distract us, to take us offline. And if you are in a big energy being, you're being very attracted, yeah, and they are finding you. And you know, this is nothing to be afraid of. You are very balanced and you're very protected and you're very safe, but just take a true honest stock take now of your friends who are, you know, who we love and adore, but just see, is there by any chance a possibility that they are wanting to drain you energetically? And sometimes with our friends, we just love them so much we don't care. Oh, wow, drain me forever, my friend. I just love and adore you. And the thing is that's not really empowering you or them. And so being spiritually mature, we have to know the difference between who's empowering us and who's disabling us. And sometimes it's really hard when we don't see the bigger picture and perspective, and we don't know the other collectives who are playing these roles. And it's a lesson. It's not supposed to permanently disable you or scar you. It is just another opportunity for you to grow and have self-empowerment, and to know your value and worth, and to put you as a priority and you as a focus. So you are special, you are important. And if someone's taking and draining from you, you know, you need to look at that and figure out what you're going to do, my friends. You know, ultimately we want to empower everyone. And sometimes we think if we just love them more and we give them more attention and give them more time, that will be the key. Let's see how that works. Okay, so I love you guys. I'm going to send you my email in the descriptions, because there are some people with small egos that do need to reach out to me. And so I was hoping that you would be able to trust that I'm here for you. And I know some of you have, and that's fantastic, because your guides are like pushing you towards me, and I don't bite, I promise. Much. And if I do bite, it's just because I love you and I'm trying to trigger you into growth. And, you know, that is my role, and we can respect all life contracts, right? Have a fantastic day, and give yourself some true love and appreciation and gratitude for what you're doing here now.